Hello, everybody. Welcome to the last week of May 2025, the astrology forecast for May 25th through the 31st. We're already the last week of May. I wanted to just give a couple overarching themes that are running through this week, and the big one is what just happened on the 24th, which is Saturday, and that is Saturn moving into the sign of Aries, as well as Saturn loosely, but actually pretty tightly conjoining Neptune. Saturn into Aries is going to be active for the next couple years. And that conjunction, its conjunction with Neptune, is going to be active this year. It's going to peak next year, and it's still going to be present in 2027. So this means that these two, and I have a whole other video that you guys can check out. I'll put a link about what to expect with that transit, but we're in the first days of that transit. And, the themes about that are, well, it's about new beginnings. It's about new beginnings in leadership. It's also about the power of the individual, the importance of the individual, and the identity of the individual. And it's also about innovation, invention, technology, leadership, and conflict. So that's the backdrop. And then we also have Mercury pretty much making an aspect every single day this week. Mercury's in Gemini. Mercury is on the 25th, Sunday, May 25th. Mercury's sextile Saturn in Aries. So that's going to be, Mercury's going to be inviting Saturn to tell us what's on its mind as it enters the first degree of the sign of Aries. And this is new for us. This is potentially something that is, well, the conjunction to Neptune is actually very new for us. The last time Neptune was in Aries was in the 1800s. Again, I talk about that in the video that's going up about this time that I'll put in the notes. But so Mercury's sextiling Saturn on Sunday and sextiling Neptune on Monday, which is really, I think, perfect because it's swinging the door open. We're all wanting to be a little bit like, okay, what's the score? What's going on? Like, we're going to be able to feel a kind of subtle but powerful vibrational shift. And this is about our comms. This is about our communication. This is about our 3D communication. But it's not just, we typically think of 3D communication as kind of what I'm doing now, which is just the words that we say to each other. But communication, even in the 3D world, is vibrational. It's every moment that what we choose to think, what we choose to read, what we choose to watch, what we do with our time, how we're vibrating. So that's part of the message, I think, with Mercury being so active this week. On Tuesday, we have an interesting, it's not a trine, but it kind of feels like a trine energy to me. We have quintiles and biquintiles between three planets. We have Mars in Leo, biquintile, the North Node. We have the Sun, quintile, the North Node, and quintile, Mars. So all three of these guys are aspecting each other. Mars, the North Node, and the Sun. And a quintile and a biquintile are there's a flow of energy, but it's about like an innate natural ability or a creative edge. You know how somebody who always just knows just the right thing to say, or a musical composition that somebody's just so naturally talented. So this is a very fortunate aspect, I think, at the start of this week. And the theme with the North Node being active and with Mars being active and with the Sun being active, I think it's really going to help us understand how the individual is a very important part of the whole. That they don't have to be either or. It doesn't have to be for the good of the collective, I have to sacrifice, and it doesn't have to be me, screw everybody else. There's something really like harmonious that's going to be coming through. And I say this every week, the themes that I'm talking about are kind of setting the tone for the whole week. I tend to not really want to say, look at the exact date and the exact time and look around, because when we're doing that, we're missing the flows of energy. So all this stuff is sort of active and operational all week long. We also have Mercury active on Tuesday, the 27th, trining Pluto. Pluto's in Aquarius, that is transformation for the collective type energy. And Mercury being trine Pluto is going to give Pluto the chance to give Mercury an upgrade of sorts about its communication, about how we communicate. So that might be something that is surprising. That might be something that is some kind of a new understanding, but it also might just be something very simple, because I find that we go looking for these ancient truths, and the truths are beneath our nose and are already present. So Pluto is maybe even going to be telling us that the solutions are inside of us. On Wednesday, the 28th, we have Mercury quintile the North Node. And I think that's going to be where Mercury is going to be receiving information from the North Node about the quintile by quintile that happened with the Sun and Mars the day before. So this week, as I mentioned again, is all about a lot about how we're communicating. It doesn't mean you have to be super hyper vigilant. I think it means that it's important for us to bring more of our awareness, to continue to get off autopilot, and to really realize and embody the powerful creators that we are. On Thursday, we have Mercury semi-square Venus and quintile Mars. So the quintile on Mars is again going to be going back to that same event on Tuesday. Semi-square to Venus is a little bit interesting because, you know, Venus in Aries can be warrior goddess energy. It can be mama cat doing the right thing for the collective. Semi-square is a challenge, but semi-square is a light challenge. So it kind of, I guess, reminds us again to bring our heart and our third eye to our communication if we do find ourselves in a situation where we feel like we need to address or defend or speak or question or anything like that. Friday the 30th, we have Mercury semi-square to Chiron. Told you Mercury was really active this week. Semi-square to Chiron is again going to be about self-awareness of how we can be of service. By taking care of ourselves, we are serving others. So there's going to be kind of an invitation to look inward on Friday. Sun in Gemini is going to be conjunct Mercury as well. And the understanding is maybe that looking inward, that we aren't as invisible as we seem. I think a lot of times we have this general and the collective consciousness mistaken assumption that all people hear is what we say or what we write, and that we're kind of these like rote robots. And I think the Sun with Mercury here at this on this day is going to remind us that everybody reads energy in theory if they choose to. Not everybody reads energy on this planet currently, but there is no hiding and there's no need to hide. And so the looking inward so as to be whole outward is just this as above, so below kind of a theme that is, if you checked out my podcast for the new moon, that is part of the theme for this entire lunar cycle that just began at the beginning of this week. We also have Jupiter by quintile Pluto. So I mentioned that Pluto was active in the beginning of the week with Mercury. So if we have Jupiter by quintile Pluto, Pluto's going to be giving some downloads to Jupiter. Jupiter's preparing for its move into Cancer in June or July. It's coming up soon. I forget right now. But the idea would be that expansion comes from not just from all perspectives, but it comes from the fabric being woven together of the collective. It, you know, when all those pieces of the tapestry are woven together, you pull on one side, the whole tapestry is this thing that is stable because of the fact that it is a whole. And finally, we have Venus semi-sextile the North Node. So I think that's going to remind us that semi-sextiles they could be flowing, they could be a little challenging. Which points to the challenges that may come up this week. While they may be about themes that are personal to us, we're going to realize that those personal themes aren't just personal. There's another few people involved. Oh, wait, maybe there's a whole other tribe of people involved, and that what I'm doing for myself, and I need to do it for myself first, is not just serving myself. And that's not I'm not saying selfish ways, but that's actually an important service for the collective. And then we close the week on the 31st with Mercury, again, active quintile Saturn. So Saturn was here at the beginning of the week. Saturn's here at the end of the week. Mercury was aspecting Saturn at the beginning of the week. Mercury's aspecting Saturn at the end of the week. And so all those aspects, sextiles and biquintiles, are flows of energy, but the quintile is kind of unique in that it's more innate. It's more natural feeling. It's more, for me, I feel like it comes from my back out my front. So that type of communication is a different form of communication. That type of communication is totally ego down and speaking because the words are actually just simply coming out of us. That's more of a channel type of a communication, but I hope that doesn't freak you out. I think that the idea is that we know, like, we're speaking from some other deeply knowing space than is just our ego. Then we also have the sun, which is our planet of identity. Last aspect for this week is going to be semi-square to Chiron. And so Chiron was active a couple times this week. And I think the sun semi-square to Chiron is really going to be reminding us that our challenges are, we need to take care of ourselves and face our challenges and be with the things of our lives, because that is how we serve. That's the way, that's the through line. So I hope you enjoy this week. Have a blessed new moon, and I will see you next week for the astrology forecast. Take care, guys.